All right, today we are diving deep into the core ideas of what might be one of the most practical books on self-improvement ever written, Atomic Habits by James Clear. We're going to break down how you can build good habits and, just as importantly, break bad ones. And here's a spoiler, the secret has nothing to do with willpower. It's all about designing a better system for yourself. You know that feeling, right? We all do. You set these big, ambitious goals, maybe a New Year's resolution, to finally start working out, or to read more, or to quit scrolling social media for hours. You have the best intentions. But then, a few weeks in, you're somehow right back where you started. So what gives? How do you make these changes actually stick? Okay, so check out this analogy, because it really drives the point home. Imagine a plane taking off from New York, and it's headed for Los Angeles. Now, if the pilot adjusts the course by just 3 degrees, that's it, a tiny, almost unnoticeable shift. That plane isn't going to land in LA. It'll end up somewhere closer to Tijuana, Mexico. And that right there is the incredible power of our tiny daily habits. They set our destination. And here's an idea from the book that is just so liberating. If you've struggled to stick with good habits, you are not the problem. It's not because you're lazy or you lack motivation. The problem is your system. You've been trying to force a change with willpower instead of just designing a smarter process. So just how small can these changes be to make a difference? Well, let's look at the math because it's actually pretty shocking. If you can get just 1% better at something each day for a year, the compounding effect is huge. You don't just end up a little better, you end up almost 38 times better. Think about that for a second. But here's the thing, this is a double-edged sword. That 1% improvement compounds into these massive, amazing results. But 1% declines, eating a little junk food, skipping that workout, a bit of negative self-talk, they also compound, chipping away at you until you're left with almost nothing. It's a huge reminder that our tiny daily choices matter way more than we think. Now here's the catch, and honestly, this is the exact spot where most people just give up. We expect our progress to be a straight line. We put in the work, and we want to see the results right now. But in reality, the biggest outcomes are always delayed. This early period where you're putting in all this effort but you're not really seeing anything for it, that's what James Clear calls the valley of disappointment. This is the make or break moment where you just have to be patient. So to get through that valley, we need to make another big mental shift. We're always told to set these big, hairy, audacious goals. But the author argues we should actually forget about the goals for a second and focus on our systems instead. So what's the difference? Well, goals are about the result you want to achieve. Systems are about the processes that get you there. Winners and losers in any field often have the exact same goals. The goal to win the championship isn't what separates them. It's the system of daily practice. Goals give you direction, but systems are what actually make the progress happen. Okay, so if systems are the key, what are they actually made of? Well, at the very core of every single one of your habits, the good, the bad, all of them, is this simple 4-step feedback loop that just runs on autopilot in your brain. Understanding this loop is the first step to finally taking control. It works just like this. First, you got a cue, a trigger. Let's say your phone buzzes. That leads to a craving. You suddenly have this urge to know who messaged you. The response is the habit itself. You pick up your phone and look. And finally, the reward. You satisfy that little itch of curiosity. This whole loop, when you repeat it enough times, just becomes automatic. And this is where it gets really practical and powerful. To build good habits and break bad ones, you don't need more willpower. You just need to become an architect of this loop, deliberately shaping each of these 4 stages. And we can do that using a simple framework called the 4 laws of behavior change. So let's break that down, starting with law number 1, which is all about the cue. The whole game here is to make the triggers for your good habits totally impossible to miss, and to make the triggers for your bad habits pretty much invisible. So how do you actually do this? Well, you get super specific. Don't just say, I'm going to work out more. You say, I will work out at 6 a.m. in my living room. You can also use something called habit stacking. That's where you link a new habit to one you already have, like after I brush my teeth, I will stretch for 5 minutes. Or you can just design your environment. If you want to read more, just leave a book on your pillow. All right, law number 2, this one targets the craving. See, our brains are wired to be motivated by the anticipation of a reward. So the more attractive, the more desirable a habit seems, the more likely we are to actually do it. A brilliant little trick for this is called temptation bundling. You pair something you want to do, like watching your favorite Netflix show, with something you need to do, like walking on the treadmill. Or you can join a culture where your desired habit is just the normal thing to do, like joining a book club if you want to read more. Who you surround yourself with is incredibly powerful. Next up is the third law, and this is all about the response, the habit itself. Look, human beings are fundamentally wired to follow the path of least resistance. So the key is to reduce the friction to make your good habits as effortless as possible. This is so practical. Just lay out your workout clothes the night before. If you want to read more, don't commit to a whole chapter. Just commit to reading one single page. That's called the 2-minute rule. The idea is to make starting so easy that it's basically impossible to say no. Once you're in motion, momentum will usually carry you the rest of the way. And finally, we have the fourth law, which closes the loop by engineering the reward. Our brains are hardwired for immediate gratification. So for a habit to really stick, it has to feel successful right away. The rewards of good habits, like getting in shape, are often way off in the future. So you have to create a little immediate reward for yourself. The simple, satisfying act of checking a box on a habit tracker is a perfect example. It gives you this immediate hit of success that reinforces the behavior. And remember this golden rule: never miss twice. Missing one day is an accident. Missing 2 days is the start of a new bad habit. Getting back on track is everything. So here it all is, the entire system in one simple cheat sheet. If you want to build a good habit, you make the cue obvious, the craving attractive, the response easy, and the reward satisfying. And if you want to break a bad habit, you just flip it, make it invisible, unattractive, difficult, and totally unsatisfying. But there's one final, much deeper layer to all of this, because true, lasting behavior change isn't just about your actions, it's about your identity. The real goal isn't just to run a marathon, it's to become a runner. The goal isn't just to write a book, it's to become a writer. See, when your habits become a part of who you are, you're not fighting for change anymore. You're just being yourself. And that leaves us with a really powerful question to think about. Every tiny decision you make, every small habit you do all day long, it's a vote. It's a vote you cast for the type of person you're becoming. So if you look at your actions today, who are you voting to be?